Hi. Fatherly love, the courage to expect more. In the previous article, we explored love as a choice and as a discipline, the work of nurturing growth in ourselves and others. This second piece in the series turns to fatherly love, the form that challenges us to become more than we are today. A question that changed me. I was playing golf with my friend Steve when he asked, "Why the hell isn't Theo working with you?" Then he added, "I knew your father, I know you, and I know Theo. I took over my father's business. You took over yours. We made them better. I believe that entire experience made us better. So, what kind of man would you be today if you hadn't worked out the stuff with your father?" That hit me like a demolition crane. One of those rare moments that shakes you awake. I realized I'd be half the man I am. Not because it was easy, it wasn't. There were years of friction, high expectations, and learning how to navigate a tough, exacting parent. But we worked through it. We built something together. By the end of his life, we were at peace. I went home and told Theo, "I think this could be good for you. You'll be a better man for it." What I was really offering him was a particular kind of love, one that had shaped me through my father and that I now wanted to pass on. In our family, this happened to be between father and son. But fatherly love is not about gender. It's the kind of love that sets expectations, pushes us to grow, and calls forth our best selves. In our case, it just happened that our son chose a similar professional path to mine, while my daughters didn't. Had one of them done so, the same truth would apply. And besides, they're all actively involved in what we do now, so in that sense, it's very much a family affair. Defining fatherly love. There is an ancient idea found in religion, philosophy, and psychology. Every human being needs two kinds of love, motherly and fatherly. Motherly love says, "I love you because you are." It's unconditional, ever present, and offering belonging without precondition. Fatherly love says, "I love you because of what you are becoming." It's aspirational and challenges you to meet the world's demands. Fatherly love expects and believes in your potential. My mother always talked about ramar och kramar, which in Swedish means frames and hugs, signaling the importance of structure and expectations, all surrounded by love. And believe me, she was fully capable of giving me plenty of both fatherly and motherly love. That balance shaped much of how I came to understand love myself. Because these two archetypes aren't tied strictly to gender. Many women lead with fatherly love. Many men offer the motherly kind. These are human capacities, not biological roles. Still, the archetypes matter. Our minds tend to map them to traditional patterns, and there is some truth in those associations. Psychologist and philosopher Erich Fromm writes in The Art of Loving that motherly love is unconditional and fatherly love must be earned. One gives us roots, the other's wings. At first glance, motherly love seems more tender, while fatherly love may seem more demanding. Yet, as Rabbi Harold Kushner writes in Living a Life That Matters, quote, "Sometimes we want to hear the Father's message, that we are loved because we deserve it, not only because the other person is so generous and tolerant. End of quote. Fatherly love isn't about harshness or criticism for its own sake. It's about high expectations, accountability, and believing in someone's ability to grow and become more than they imagined. This kind of love helps us thrive. It's about growth, not just comfort. When love holds up a mirror. A few months ago, Theo made an error in judgment on a project we were working on together. I saw it as an opportunity, not to rescue, but to teach. We'll figure it out, I told him. The most important thing isn't that you made a mistake, it's what we can learn from it. What followed were difficult conversations, including feedback that turned out to be more valuable than I think anyone expected. Afterwards, I asked him what he had taken from the exchange. That was a masterclass, he kind of said. I don't know if I will ever be able to do that. You might not, I replied. I can't do the kind of math you do. There are many things I will never do as well as you. But this is why you need to know your blind spots, so you can bring in partners who balance your strengths. That was fatherly love in action. Love that holds a mirror, challenges, and says, you're capable of more and you need to account for your weaknesses. It helps someone understand themselves and rise to their potential. Where fatherly love fades. That moment with Theo reminded me how rare this kind of guidance has become. Over the last century, society has swung too far toward emotional safety and comfort, losing the fatherly love that builds high expectations, discipline, and accountability. Emotional safety matters, but without the structures that cultivate resilience and responsibility, many grow up unprepared for the world's challenges. This is especially visible among men who have never been given clear standards or frameworks to guide their growth. That's why voices like Canadian psychologist and Professor Jordan Peterson have resonated deeply with young men. His teachings align with fatherly love because they demand responsibility, discipline, and growth. Peterson challenges his audience to take ownership of their lives, confront their weakness, and rise to their potential. Similarly, David Brooks, in The Second Mountain, writes about the shift from a self-focused life to one built on commitments, either to a spouse, a calling, a faith, or a community. He argues that true fulfillment comes through character development, forged in struggle, responsibility, and service. This vision mirrors fatherly love. It calls us to rise above self-interest and live for something larger than ourselves. Without fatherly love, integrity weakens, promises blur, and the drive for progress fades. People rise when they're held up to high standards. The world needs more of that kind of love, love that believes in the potential and helps others achieve it. I saw this in my own father. His standards were never about performance alone. They were about self-respect. Even small rules, like no brown shoes after 6 p.m., taught me that how you show up in the world matters. It's about honoring yourself, not impressing others. Fatherly love leads by example, not from the sidelines. Why the bar matters. The worst thing you can do to a child, an employee, or a student is to expect nothing from them. When we lower the bar, we prevent growth. Fatherly love teaches that failure is part of becoming, not a fatal blow to identity. It rewards perseverance that leads to growth, not just effort, and provides that challenge that spurs real development. 30 years ago, I met Lorraine Monroe, founding principal of the renowned Frederick Douglass Academy in Central Harlem. She built an extraordinary school by expecting more from her students. And when I asked her what she did differently, she said, I simply expected these kids to go to college. And they did. That stayed with me. Today, we spend too much time identifying who's been most disadvantaged and not enough asking, what could this person still become? That is fatherly love at its best. It is not only about understanding pain, but also about believing in potential. It's about saying, you matter, and so do your choices. Amy Chua's battle hymn of the tiger mother may have sparked debate, but at its core, her approach is rooted in the belief that a child's potential shouldn't be compromised. In Fromm's terms, that's fatherly love, not approval without effort, but love that demands something because it sees what that person could become. As organizational psychologist Adam Grant recently pointed out in the New York Times article, no, you don't get an A for effort. Students today increasingly expect high grades for trying hard. The problem is that this mindset doesn't stop in the classroom. It carries into the workplace, relationships, and even leadership, creating a culture where showing up is treated as enough. Grant explains that high marks are for excellence, not just grit. Fatherly love reinforces that lesson. Effort is a starting point, but it matters only when it leads to progress built through direction, skill, and continual improvement. It says, try again, do better. When people strive for more, it benefits not only themselves, but society as a whole. We all gain when we meet our potential and give back to the world around us. We give Olympic medals to the athletes who swim the fastest, not the ones who train the hardest. Trying matters, but results matter too. The best athletes are already thinking about the next goal before the podium celebrations are even over. That's the kind of clarity father love provides. Leading with fatherly love. I've come to believe that good leadership is one of the most powerful forms of fatherly love. Not because it tells people what to do, but because it creates the conditions for growth. It holds people to a high standard, expects effort, and refuses to coddle. Yet it also refuses to give up. It says, I believe you can do better, and I will help you get there. I've come to see meritocracy itself as a form of fatherly love. You don't give people promotions because they're nice. You give them opportunities because they've earned them. That's love with standards, belief backed by accountability. And I certainly learned this early from my father, who brought McDonald's to Sweden. He had an unwavering commitment to quality. If the flowers outside a restaurant weren't perfect, he noticed. If the hamburger wasn't warm enough, he got angry. If a shirt wasn't ironed, he saw it as a sign of disrespect. He expected the best from everyone and held himself to the same standard. That what gave his toughness credibility. Later in my journey, I had similar experiences working with Fred Turner, Jim Cantalupo, Charlie Bell, Steve Ells, Julian Metcalf, Dov Seidman, Michael Bronner, Tony Chan, and many other trail-blazing pioneers with often visionary and sometimes unreasonable expectations. We often failed to live up to their ideals, but we never failed in trying to get better. And that is the point of high expectations. They make you try harder. Somewhere in there, I realized that fatherly love in leadership isn't about constant correction, finger pointing, or critiquing. It's about creating the conditions that can help people succeed on their own. It's about setting expectations and giving them the tools to rise to the challenge. This is the kind of leadership I strive to create, and it's the kind of fatherly love I hope to pass on to my children and grandchildren. The pursuit worth passing on. There's a quote I love, often attributed to Michelangelo. It says, the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but it is too low and we reach it. That's the spirit of fatherly love. It's not pressure for the sake of pressure. It's the courage to raise the bar, coupled with the promise to stand beside someone while they reach for it. Life is not meant to be merely tolerated, it's meant to be pursued. We often confuse contentment with resignation. Yes, we should be content with who we are as people, but not necessarily what we create, lead, or build. There's always more we can strive for. I believe aspiration and dreams must be asymptotic, always ahead of us and never fully reached. That's the power of purpose, a guiding light, a North Star, something to be inspired by. I'm grateful for friends who gave me tough love when I needed it. If Steve hadn't, I may never have created Andas with my son. When he asked that question on the golf course, it didn't feel like judgment, it felt like love. Your turn. Fatherly love challenges people to be their best, holds them to a standard, and never walks away. This week, where could you apply it in your own life? Is there an expectation you can raise? One act of support you can offer? One person you can tell, I see more in you. I will not give up. And next, in the last piece in this series of our favorite topic, love, I turn to romantic love, exploring why so many high-functioning people struggle to pair today, what modern love asks of us, and how we might begin to reconnect more deeply, meaningfully, and sustainably. Love is in the air. See you.